right, good morning, everyone. So welcome to office hours today. We can open up the chat for any questions that might come through. I really just kind of want to revisit a little bit about what we talked about on Tuesday. I won't hold you too long this morning. I feel a migraine brewing, so we're gonna keep it nice and easy for today. So I'm gonna share my screen and I want to revisit just what we talked about on Tuesday. The slides, recording, and cheat sheet have all been posted to Basecamp. Also with a reminder of what not to do and what you can do, of course, while we're in this kind of interim stage. So as data starts to begin to come in for the final processing, we'll want to make sure that you're not doing any of that work in your instance yet. You'll have a kind of a pause. So those of you that are still working on data, cleaning up and things like that, you still have a little bit of time. For those of you like Kim, who we sent data today, we want to make sure that you kind of put a pause on that and not do any work in the system yet. So when I come into acquisitions, I can search for those titles that we added the other day. Now, as we do that search, now you'll see a change in the holdings. Whereas before, when we did our initial search for dirt to soil, it came back everything as not held. But since we added that new title, you can see now that it is now held by my library. It's going to show the audience level as well as how many LHRs that are attached. And in this case, I just added the one. So if I click on the title, again, it takes me to the item details or the detail screen, giving me some bibliographic elements that I can review and take a look at. But you'll also notice now at the copies tab, it will have a 1 in parentheses, letting me know that I have one LHR that's now been added to this particular record. If I want to add a second one, so maybe you purchased two, you can click on that copy screen and all the other options are gone because now the system knows you're cataloging this as a monograph and you can add any additional items. And that really just takes us back to that same screen we saw for entering in the elements that we need to do a basic LHR. And you can make adjustments. Now, again, I'm logged in as the Muncie Library, so that's what branch will default, but I do have all of my libraries added and I can see the different branches. So if I wanted to put this at a specific location, I can choose that branch, or another location that's not the one I'm logged into. I can choose it and then pick from my shelving locations that have been added. Fill in any of the rest of the information that I need to present, add a barcode, replacement cost information, and any public or staff notes. And again, a reminder here, you can do pop-up notes. You just need to add an exclamation point and then the note. Click add monographic item and it builds that LHR. And then just a reminder of what this pop-up note will do. This works at checkout and check-in. So if I check this particular title out to a patron, we'll pick Sherlock Holmes. I know he's on the naughty list, but I'll get that pop-up to let me know that there are 2 CDs included with that particular item. I can acknowledge it, check the item out. It will do the same thing at check-in. So when I check the item in, there's that pop-up, so I know to look for those additional pieces and parts or to pass it off to cataloging or whatever needs to happen with that particular item. Acknowledge, and then it moves on. I'm going to get a transfer routing slip for it because this needs to go to a different branch than I'm logged into. So easy to add additional LHRs if you have already added one. And this is something you can do post-migration as well. But during data migration, these are the recommended workflows for adding new items that have not been sent for data migration. And again, this can also be done in circulation. So if I go into the title of the item, based off of the roles that I have available, I'm able to add an additional item. Here's going to just let me know this one's in transit, but I can always add a third copy. It takes me to the exact same work form. So whether I'm in acquisitions or circulation, I can handle that work there. I can also take a look at those items by clicking the View Edit Item, make adjustments or changes to it as needed, or again, view the edit in MARC 21. It will take me into Record Manager through the Metadata tab, and I can see those MARC fields and make adjustments. This is where I could add an 856 link. Again, we'll talk about this at our Record Manager session in May, but I can always come in here and add an 856 link and enter in that open access link or a specific link to an internal document that you have maybe on your intranet or whatever. So that can only be done in Record Manager on the MARC form.
Beth,
Yeah.
can I ask a question here? And this is Melody. Is this where we would add things like local notes or program codes, that type of thing?
So anything that you want to add like that you might add to local bib data is handled at on a different screen, but it's also done in Record Manager. So if I were to have searched for this item in Record Manager, so let's do that. We'll close this all out. And we'll again go into more depth in this at our Record Manager session. But if I
Jump in the gun, that's okay.
Yeah,
You can,
okay.
we can wait.
I don't have a lot to talk about, so we can talk about this. Give you a preview. I do my search again, similar to what I saw before in acquisitions when I searched for it. And now this time, if I click on the title, I'm going to see the bibliographic elements here in this bibliographic record section. So all the MARC fields that are available. Now, what I want to point out here is this is shared with all libraries using this record. So as we saw before, there are 463 other libraries that have holdings on this record. So while you can make changes to the bibliographic record if you have the appropriate roles, subject headings change over time and things need to be updated. You're absolutely able to do that work. It just depends on your level of access and roles of what you can and cannot do. But keep in mind that any of these changes or updates will impact everyone who has a holding on the record. Now, once you've gotten past this section with the bibliographic record that is shared globally, and you can see all here in the 040, you can see all the symbols of the libraries that have made edits to this record, who cataloged it, and OCLC, anytime OCLC quality control has come in and done any work on the record, you'll see that listed as well with OCLC and then a letter after it. But other libraries that have worked on this record as well. We can then go down to the parts where you can edit for your local records. So this LBD section will be that truly local section where you can add those course codes and any notes that you want to appear. So for example, if we go to The Great Gatsby, which the 100th anniversary of its publication is coming up in a few weeks. You'll see I've added a few of those fields. So here I have a 590 field that lets it know that there were copies donated. I have a 591 field and a couple 650s that I've added that are local to my institution. So then when I search for this title, and I click into the title on my results, I'll see those in the description area of the record. So there's those 590 notes coming through. I've reordered it to put my library's notes at the top. I think they're typically further down in the default, but I thought my library notes were more important, so I moved them to the top. And then as I click through, you'll see I added those subject headings for tragic love stories and dysfunctional relationships, and they're interspersed based on how I added them into the 650 fields. So I can click on them, and if I have any other titles that I've used these subject headings for, it will create that list.
Thanks, Beth. One additional question then for is the workflow the same for electronic resources where we want to add local information in the bib
Yeah.
record?
Yes, so you'd still be able to do that if you had any electronic resources you wanted to do that for. You could create the LHR and then come into the MARC record to edit and add in the 856 link.
And can that be done in like batches?
Adding the 856 link?
Not just necessarily adding an 856 link, but adding like a program code or something to,
Yeah, absolutely. So you're able to do that using our record work lists. So
Okay.
for
I'll
example,
wait till we get to that.
yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of a preview, I should have some in here. But here's an LHR one. I don't think I have an LBD one, but you can create one for local bib data. So if you wanted to batch add that, but it's similar with the LHR one. I've been moving some stuff in my test environment. So I had 784 records that I was moving locations for. 783 process fine. I had one with a validation issue. So I get them added to the work list, and then I can create a script to make those changes. So same with the LBD option, you'll have add a field and you'll be able to enter in that information and then run it.
Awesome.
And the
Thank
nice thing
you.
is that you don't have to stay on the screen and wait for it to run, because depending upon how many records, it will take a little bit of time. So you can set this up for the end of the day, let it run and come back tomorrow, or it doesn't really take overnight, but go have lunch, come back, and you can work on it. Yeah, great question. Yes, we will cover this record work list feature a lot. I mentioned it on Tuesday, but you'll see for those with the appropriate roles, you'll see that there are 3 tabs. One for bibliographic, which allows you to add OCLC numbers and remove or add holdings. By deleting, it will also delete LHR or LBD information, which is helpful if you're deleting out a big group of records. Just enter the OCLC numbers, copy and paste them in here, and it will remove everything for you. The LBD work lists will allow you to add those notes and subject headings in bulk, as we just talked about. And then the LHR ones will allow you to do a whole bunch of great stuff. The base script will allow you to add some notes. You can add a public or a private staff note or a pop-up note in bulk. You can move items from location to location. You can delete fields, update the audience level, change branch, all kinds of fun stuff. I'm a big fan of the record work lists. It does allow you to do up to 9,000 records on the LHR one and the LBD one at a time. So especially if you're moving a lot of stuff, more than 100 items, this is the way to go. I also mentioned, and you can do this in circulation as well, but you can, and I think we talked about this with circulation, and we'll go over it again as we get closer to your go live as kind of a special thing. But if you change the data type to local holdings records, whether you're in record manager or circulation, it's not an option in acquisitions. It will give you a bunch of indexes to search by. So you could search by a note, a staff note or a public note. You can and pull all those records back. You can search by shelving location. You can search by by barcode and bulk. I really like the branch shelving location option because what it lets me do, especially for those of your staff members that are working on reserves, I can easily pull up what's in my reserve location and say, okay, what's there? What needs to be moved to back to the stacks? What needs to stay in the reserve location? And I can easily move these items. So I have 50 items in this location. I can expand them by the rows. And then I can either move up to 100 items at a time by changing the shelving location or the branch, or change the audience level, or change the bib record they're attached to, which I don't want to do because there are all kinds of different stuff in here. But I have some options. And then I can also pull up an entire shelving location if I want to do a big bulk move and move those to a record work list like we just took a look at. So I really like the option to filter this down by shelving location, because then I can come in and take a look at what's going on with a specific location. I never know what's going to be in the shelving locations. It's always a fun surprise. Looks like there's quite a mix. Oh, we even got the Cat in the Hat in here. Fun. So lots of great options for you to do some work in bulk or to edit your records. Just keep in mind, the big thing is that the bibliographic part is shared. So any big changes made to this part will impact other users. But you can add LBD and LHR information however you need to. Great question. Led me down a whole nother path too. All right. So from here, as we dive into acquisitions starting next week, I'll also be talking about how all of this is tied into cataloging as well, because we will utilize the same search feature to add items to orders, and then see what happens at the receiving stage as we create LHRs. Next week, we're going to focus on the setup for acquisitions. You do not have to use the acquisitions module to go live with WMS. You have plenty of time to get it set up. A lot of libraries like to start with their fiscal year, and if yours begins July 1st, we do have quite a few months to get that set up and prepared for you to start using it once you go live with the system. So that is something that you'll be able to take advantage of, because it will work with adding items to the system, and then additional cataloging can be handled separately once the item has been ordered and received. But that's coming up in a few weeks. And just a reminder, the first full week of April, we will not have any sessions. I will be out on an actual vacation that week. So just keep in mind, you have that whole week to do other things or finish up spreadsheets that you're working on or any other configuration pieces.
A quick question, Beth. I know that our IT department is waiting for some information from you about patron load after the authentication's been set up. Has that been set up and tested already?
No, not yet. I kind of had to, it took me longer to get some scope statements written and done and evaluated. We changed our template for it. So what you guys got the brand new template of scope statement. So that is next week's. I have some information I'll be able to provide based off of your translation table, but the testing of the configuration for authentication, I have Monday blocked off to do all of them.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
Hi, Beth. I've got a very remedial question.
Sure.
And tell everyone I'm not, I should pay more attention here. So we're doing our first initial bib load on March 31st. So then I know that takes about 2 weeks, right? You said for the processing for that?
No, it takes
Yeah.
2 weeks for the for us to get the configuration and the backend set up to start the migration. So once you'll get a scope statement that you'll read through based off of your data migration questionnaire and the conversation we had last fall. And you'll just verify that that's exactly what we still want to do. Once you've submitted that, and I've submitted the scope statement and the translation table to the data processor, they have setup to do, and then I also have some setup to do configuration wise and some profiling to do with another team. So and then that takes us about 2 weeks to get that ready. That's after that 2-week period, then you'll be able to start cataloging in WMS and adding new items that you've purchased. But the processing takes a little bit longer. There is a date in Basecamp that says reports. That's when processing ends. So once they've generated your final reports, and I've shared those with you, I think the reports one is assigned to me. That's when you will have, so I would say probably early June is when when we'll start seeing the processing complete for everybody. Well, no, that's not true. Sooner for some. I'm looking at the wrong. Allison's schedule got all changed because of their patron data. Who's doing patron data? So for you, Hans, you should have your light blue on my schedule. So about June 10th is when reports are set for you. So that's about the time the bib data will complete. So early June.
So that identifies the gap. Yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. There's just a lot of dates for all of us to keep in mind too. And it's easy to get turned around with it.
Right. I guess I got confused by the idea of like the assumption that we'd be doing dual cataloging, but really that's not.
It's not necessary. It depends on how you want to present your new items. If you just simply want to put them in WMS and not worry about adding them to Sierra, you can do that. Some folks do both because they want to make things available right away to their students. Some libraries just stop purchasing during data migration altogether. They're like, oh, it's just like 2.5 months. We'll take a pause. And not purchase anything. And other folks have stuff that they've already purchased and are still trickling in, so they want to get them added. So it's really just how you want to handle it.
Okay. So are you saying that we'd be able to add new items sooner than June 10th? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes. So new items not sent for data migration, that's that 2-week hold. So once your full data is sent on the 31st.
Yeah.
Then there's a 2-week pause, and then you can start adding new items to WMS after that.
Okay, good. That's what I was looking for.
We got there.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Beth.
Hans, we just met about that yesterday at our college, and I shared something on Basecamp, but the main thing is if it's something that we don't think needs to circulate immediately, we are just going to put it on a shelf, labeled that hold, we're not adding that anywhere. But if it's something that would have to be used right away, we are, putting it on a tracking sheet, then doing it in Sierra, and then make sure that we remember to do that in WMS later too.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Very helpful. Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, if there aren't any additional questions, we can go ahead and be complete for today. I know some questions came into Basecamp, so I'll work to get those answered as I deal with some of this other stuff that's coming up. I might go take a little nap and then work this afternoon. We'll see if we can get rid of the headache. It's gonna rain. That's my problem. It's gonna rain years old and headaches and crazy feelings, but I appreciate everybody's time and attention. You guys have been doing such a great job. I'm really happy with how overall our project is going. So please keep up the good work. I know sometimes it feels overwhelming and you feel a little lost, but I promise you, you are doing amazing. And I'm always saying such good things about working with this group compared to some other larger groups that I've worked with, because you guys are so kind and so receptive and responsive, and it's been great so far. So I'm looking forward to this last sprint to the end. Thank you. I'll be fine. It's just one of those weather things. I appreciate it though. All right. Have a great. Oh, you're welcome.
Everyone.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your Thursday and a good weekend. Thanks, folks.
Hi, thank you. Two.